Welcome to Inside the Indians, your source for insider information on the Tribe. Stay with us as we bring you the latest about the players, managers, and people behind the scenes at Victory Field. Now here's your host, the longtime broadcast voice of the Indians, Howard Kellman.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Inside the Indians. On today's show, we'll talk to Brian Esposito, the manager of the Tribe. We'll also speak with hitting coach Ryan Long and Indianapolis Indians outfielder Jason Martin. We'll be back with Espo on the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. Esposito, manager of Indianapolis Indians, our first guest on Inside the Indians. Espo, the team came back home, started playing well immediately.
Yeah, it's nice to see our guys come back home, give these fans something to watch. A lot of good performances down the stretch here, so we're looking to finish up strong and play our best baseball here towards the end of the season.
And Francisco Cervelli injected some energy and played well.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a guy that had something taken away from him. He had some injuries that he's been battling all year, so it was a breath of fresh air to see him come out here and play with the energy and the excitement that he had after a long layoff. So it's fun to have him in our camp right now and watch him go about his business. So
you're making a really good point, something taken away. It's been almost 3 months since he played.
Yeah, that's tough for a guy that has as much dirt as he does in his spikes at the major league level. Here's a true veteran that knows how to play the game, that plays the game. Plays it hard. He's been in a lot of big baseball games in his career, so to see him be able to come to a AAA game and play with that kind of energy, it's fun to watch.
You got another good effort out of James Marvel the other day. Tell us about him as a pitcher.
Yeah, he does a lot of really good things. His preparation's off the charts. He goes about his business the right way. He does a really good job of IDing hitter traits, hitter swings, and he works off the pitch that he threw prior to that. So very educated in terms of just of how to maneuver through a lineup, and not just the first time through, but the second and third as well.
You're a former catcher. I would think you would have loved working with a guy like that.
Yeah, you could take appreciation to a guy that doesn't always just rely on you, but has his own thoughts because he's done his own homework. So when you have that kind of a player and he's doing his homework as well, calling a game becomes real simple. You're able to work through. It's almost as if you know what you're going to put down before you even throw the ball back to the mound, and he's already agreeing with you, and the pace and tempo picks up, and you're not given a chance for the hitters to make any adjustments whatsoever. You're putting the pressure on them to get back in the box and get their swing off. So he does a really nice job with that.
You mentioned doing homework. You made a good point to me that even on a day when a starting pitcher is not pitching, he can still do some work and homework.
Yeah, of course. You're looking at swings. You're looking at hitters where they are. You're looking at maybe it was a tough series before where maybe they had some extra inning games where the hitter's not as fresh as he usually is. So you can look at video all you want, but paying attention to what you're looking at the particular moment is going to paint a much bigger picture. If you're diving back into some video of what he's done in April, May, June, July, you might not get the same picture painted for you as you would if you're watching the game, whether it be a night or 2 nights prior to your start. It paints a much different picture for you to go out there and attack the guy the way you want to attack him.
And while the game's being played, you as a catcher can notice some things possibly in a hitter that other people wouldn't notice.
No doubt. You talk about leg kicks. You talk about guys swing, the length of his swing. Is a guy shortening up on the bat? Is a guy going to run out of bat on the outer half if ordinarily that might be his strength, but, he might be a little tired. The forearms might be a little tired, so he might be trying to shorten up on the bat. He might stand further away from the plate because a lot of teams have been pounding him in lately. So these are the adjustments that hitters make that if you're really watching and taking notice of the game, those are things you pick up on, and it allows you to attack the guy a little bit different than most are.
What is it now in terms of so many guys have this all-or-nothing uppercut swing? How does that affect a catcher's attitude?
You start to recognize who's in the batter's box and what if they're trying to do that kind of damage. If a certain weapon fits that profile to get that hitter out to combat that swing plane, you can go right to work and continue to attack those weak links. And that's the name of this game, is that there's always going to be an action, and for every action there's going to be a reaction. So that's the game. It's chess and not checkers. That's what I like to refer to it as here.
Mitch Keller, terrific start in Anaheim. Tell us your thoughts on Mitch.
Yeah, he looked really good. He looked very poised. He looked like those 2 outings or 2 or 3 outings that he had in the big leagues prior to him coming back down here and working through some things. I think, you know, that's what we always want. We want guys to learn through the struggle. You know, we see a lot of struggles at this level. We see a lot of struggles at the big league level where guys come back down. It's about taking the information and taking the lessons learned and applying the work and the knowledge that you got from those experiences and figuring out how you can move some things forward. So that was a start for sure that moved the needle forward because of the trials and the tribulations he went through prior to that.
And I think what was so impressive is that he pitched his way out of jams several times, and he'd had some issues with that.
Yeah, you know, and that's what you want out of guys. You know, we talk about this being a level of development. It's also a finishing school. Guys are going to be tried, you know, and the game is going to present things to you. It's how you deal with that adversity and how you learn from those mistakes. And the mistakes that you make down here and the lessons that you learn in AAA can certainly be applied to when you get to the big leagues. You know, the plate's still 60 feet 6 inches. There's a third deck, and the talent might be, you know, much greater. However, you are who you are, and you do what you do. And I think he did a really good job of being who he was and what he knows he's capable of doing.
There's always an emphasis on velocity. Mitch does throw hard. He really has a good slow curveball too.
Yeah. You know, the difference between his starts down here and the start that I watched him throw most recently in Anaheim was his ability to command the fastball with really good velocity at the bottom of the zone. It allowed him to, in times of need, to climb the ladder and elevate his fastball to the top of the zone and get a lot of swing and miss up there. There were times down here where his fastball wasn't quite getting to the bottom of the zone and it was tracking to like that mid-thigh area. So anytime he went up, you know, that's what hitters were IDing against him. You know, the same way that pitchers make adjustments against hitters in the box, hitters in the box are going to make an adjustments and establish their plan prior to going in the box. And a lot of guys were just looking for balls up, out, over and waiting for him to make those mistakes. Now the curveball comes into play when he's able to get it down and throw it for strikes. If he, which we saw down here a lot, the curveball was so good, but it was underneath the zone, and a lot of times it was just a ball or a chase pitch with 2 strikes. By him showing the ability to throw that ball and land it for strikes in the strike zone added a new element to getting guys off his fastball. So you got a guy that recognized that he does have a good slower curveball that he could throw for strikes, but he's also throwing 97, 98 in the bottom of the zone. So you start getting some in-between swings. And as a pitcher, if you're creating reasonable doubt in a hitter's mind, you pretty much have them locked up.
Beautifully said. Thanks, Espo.
You got it.
It's Brian Esposito, the skipper of the Indians, on the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. Indianapolis Indians hitting coach, our guest on Inside the Indians. You've got that bat right there. Not too many guys choke up in this day and age. Show us about choking up and what that can mean to a hitter.
Choking up, yeah. I mean, basically, and like you said, not too many guys, but actually there's, you know, if you're watching big league games, there are quite a few guys that do shorten up the bat.
I think that's a good thing, don't you?
Yeah, I saw the kid Smith of the Dodgers the other day shorten up and hit a homer. So, no, I mean, I think the closer you get to the, you get, you know, maybe a finger's room in there at least, but the closer you get to that barrel, just a little more barrel control you have. The further away you get, it's further away from your hand. So
the benefits and the negatives to choking up.
Yeah, the benefits would be that that you're getting a little more barrel control. All right, so if you're able to control the barrel a little bit more, closer I get to the end, you obviously wouldn't want to do that, but I'm able to control it more. I do lose a little bit of leverage maybe, and I'm also going to lose a little bit of coverage because I've shortened up my bat, but you know, that's why you can adjust, get on the plate a little bit, things like that.
Barry Bonds choked up.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he wanted to know where that barrel was at all times. I think the closer you get your hands to the barrel, the more control of it you have. And ultimately, as a hitter, that's what we're trying to do is find barrel as often as possible. So knowing where the barrel is very key.
Will you ever recommend to a player that he choke up?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's something that fits his game. A lot of it with guys is just the comfortability. You know, they'll say that, you know, it's not comfortable, and you say, okay, well then do it more. You know, like anything else, the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. So, yeah, there's definitely times, and in the past on the lower levels, we've required them to with 2 strikes just to learn to gain a little different approach and challenge themselves a little bit.
Ryan, what are your thoughts? You know, you hear all over about all the strikeouts, the home run or nothing approach that some guys have. What are your feelings, and what are the Pittsburgh Pirates' feelings on that?
I mean, it's always quality of bat. I think that, yeah, like you said, I think the strikeouts have been less important. I think to some guys, I think there is still a lot of pride in putting balls in play. I think obviously, you know, the main goal is to have as many base runners on base as possible. You know, and then get those guys in. The best teams in the major leagues last year were they did slug the ball the best, but they also had the most hits. They had the most guys on base, so they had a lot of traffic. I think that was Boston, but. So yeah, I mean, you know, obviously the more runners we can get on base, if that means shortening up, sometimes sacrificing, I think it's a good thing. But we are in a day and age where the long ball is also proven to be, you know, could win some games for you too. So I think that's where guys kind of, you know, get confused on which approach they're going to use. If they're going to sell out to just stay in, you know, with their regular approach the whole time, or if they're going to look to put some more balls in play with those two-strike situations.
I think it's great when the ball's put in play because anything can happen. You make somebody feel the ball. We had that example a couple of months ago, I'll never forget, in Gwinnett, when the ball was put in play and the ball was hit to Kevin Kramer. He happened to make a mistake on defense, and had the batter struck out, nothing happens. So when you put it in play, anything's possible.
Absolutely. I mean, you put that ball in play, you put more pressure on the defense, especially if you add some effort getting down the line and bases like we do and we preach. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a better opportunity. We know that, you know, 9 times out of 10 those balls are fielded and made outs with, but the more, you know, maybe over the course of the season, the more balls we put in play, you know, the better chance we have more base runners, extend the inning.
Do you think there's a different approach, all things being equal, in the National League to that than the American League?
I'm not sure. There may be a little bit in terms of some of those things. I mean, I know, you know, obviously it's a lot. The biggest difference is those pitchers are hitting a lot more. And through the minor leagues. I think that's one of the things in AAA that I've noticed that's way different than even in the big leagues. Is the American League teams in AAA never have their pitchers have to hit. So to me, there's an advantage there for the full season, having to have a DH the whole year.
Yes, that's a very good point. And the National League can be more about manufacturing runs with a pitcher batting than the American League sometimes is just hit and hit and hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's another guy. Now, I'd say this. I'd say that it seems that pitchers handling a bat across the board may have gone up a tick here lately. I feel like I've seen that. You start getting a little more two-way guys that can do some stuff with the bats. And I don't think, you know, per se, it's no longer just an easy out down there in the National League game. I think you still got to, you know, lock in and do some things. You know, I've seen some guys get some pretty big hits this year, so and over the course of time. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think, a difference having that DH. But you know, that's where we're at right now.
What's it like for a hitter when he hasn't played in a while? And you know, let's say he's had an injury, coming back, and everybody talks about timing. Please explain that to us. Yeah,
I mean, hitting it's already hard when you're doing it every day. So now when you've sit for any amount of time and your eyes aren't adjusted, because that's where our timing comes from, is just our vision and be able to see pitches and things like that. That's what gets me in sync, gets me on time. So the more I sit, the tougher it is. You know, what it feels like. You know, it can feel like when you're up there, sometimes the ball looks small. You know, it looks like a ping pong ball coming up there opposed to a baseball. It feels like a guy's throwing harder than maybe he actually is. So everything just happens a little quicker. So those are some of the feelings guys get through, and then it just rushes them, makes them tougher to pick up all pitches. That affects their confidence. It makes them start having to cheat a little bit, and it also affects their decision making ultimately, which is what we're trying to do, is get good pitches to hit.
And you mentioned cheat a little bit. They use the term leaking. That especially when you're facing a hard thrower, you get started.
Yeah,
early.
I mean, almost like you know, I think back in the Little League days when you were 12 years old and the kid was standing 45 feet away and he was throwing really hard. You almost feel like you had to start your swing before you release the ball, and that's never a good feeling. So. We want to get our body and start getting ourselves ready to get our swing off, but not necessarily start our swing, you know, too early. So those are the kind of things that happen, and then guys, you know, off of that will throw off-speed pitches, as you know, and that's where you see guys chase or
right.
You know, tend to get themselves out, and they can't really they lose the ability to have that adjustable swing.
That's right. When you start early, you are so susceptible to off-speed pitches. Some guys can keep their hands back, though.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what we're working on. I mean, we try to hit off the fastball from a timing standpoint, body positioning standpoint, and then have your body and your swing be adjustable to anything soft that's obviously in our zone, elevated, what we're looking for. So, but yeah, that's the art of it. Some guys get caught guessing. Some guys get stuck on pitch. Really, ultimately, we love them to be just more in a zone. In other words, hey, throw me a pitch right here in my zone. I'm going to hit it hard. I don't care what it is. I'm always hitting off the fastball because that's how most guys are when they're locked in. But that's the everyday battle. That's what pitchers are doing. That's why they're showing me soft stuff, mixing it up, so that maybe as a hitter I second guess and I just missed their fastball.
As always, well said, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Howard.
That's Ryan Long on the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. Tribe outfielder Jason Martin, our next guest on Inside the Indians. And Jason, you've been swinging the bat really, really well. You made a change in that you're more upright, standing more straight in the batter's box. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, more upright. I feel like it's allowing me to get a little bit more into my back leg on my load. I feel good just trying to take that change, and it feels like it's getting more comfortable day by day and take it into the rest of the season.
You mentioned getting more into your back leg and your load. Could that generate some more bat speed and power?
Yeah, it could. And most of all, it just helps me be on plane to where like I'm not jumping out at the ball, or I'm able to see the ball a lot longer, being able to really get into my back leg.
You mentioned jumping out at the ball, and that can be a common mistake among hitters. It's hard to hit, and you want to do your best, and you get a little anxious sometimes, and that can happen.
Yeah, of course. You gotta stay within yourself, and with hitting, it's hard to realize. But once you start going good, you realize like when you start going good, you're not doing as much. Like you're not trying to do as much. It's like less is more.
Yeah, it's just trusting your hands, relaxing. And the same for a pitcher, trusting his stuff, not trying to overthrow, or a hitter trying to overswing.
Exactly. That's when you see the most come out of each player, is when everything's fluid and under control.
That can be hard because you want to succeed. And unlike football, where you just hit a guy harder, the biggest mistake in baseball is trying too hard.
Yeah. You in your head, it seems like it's easy to just muscle up and try to hit the ball over the fence every time, and that actually causes bad habits, and you end up hitting the ball farther when you don't try to do that. So,
Indianapolis Indians team's been playing better lately. Tell us about this ball club.
Yeah. I feel like we've been playing good for the past couple series. Trying to finish the year strong. Just not really worrying about too much anything else, but just the team and finishing up strong. Everybody's doing their work, trying to do their part to end the year strong.
Tell us about playing center field. You seem like you have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, especially here at Victory Field. A lot of room to run. A lot of room out there to go back on the ball, come in. I feel like I've gotten better in the outfield this year. A couple silly mistakes that need to get cleaned up, but for the most part, going out and getting balls and making sure my throws are going to the right bases and low, I feel like I've done a pretty good job this year compared to last.
What's the difference in playing center field as opposed to the other outfield positions?
Center field, you're the captain out there. You got to be vocal. You have a lot more room to run, but you have a lot more room to run, and you don't really have to worry about the side walls. Kind of whatever you can go and get, you go and get. That's what I like about it. When I'm over in left, it's a little different playing the balls off the bat because of the slice and tail and hook. Yeah, it's a little. You have to take a little bit more into consideration about what the ball's going to do on the corners, because in center most of the balls are going to stay true. Left, you might get some slice and hook into the gap.
You did a terrific job of answering my next question when you started talking about the ball being true in center field, and that's so neat. Do you often, too, look at where a ball is hitting the bat as you're reading a play?
Yeah. That's something also that sometimes you don't catch, and it looks like it's a big swing. Looks like he got a pretty good good part of the bat on it, but he really didn't. It was just a big swing. He got it on the end of the bat. If you don't see that, you might find yourself taking a few steps back and then having a jet in. And yeah, you try to see where he makes contact so you can see kind of how far or in you need to go back.
See, that's a great point, because especially someone who hasn't played much outfield, balls hit off the end of the bat tend to fool outfielders. They fool anybody because you think they're going farther than they're actually going.
Exactly. And kind of like what I like to do is, like, off the bat, I like to take a little gather step, and before I make a move, I try to see where that ball is going to be, just so it ends up being less time if I make the right first move, taking a little bit more time than right off the bat just go back and then, oh no, I got to go back in. So like if I ball off the bat, I kind of wait a little bit, see, okay, that's in. Then I go. Wait a little bit, okay, that's back. Go back.
Very well said. You've done a terrific job for this ball club, Jason, in your first full year in the organization. So thank you so much, and continued success to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's Indianapolis Indians outfielder Jason Martin, left-hand hitter. And this is the home of the Indians, WHMB, TV 40. We'd like to thank our guests, Brian Esposito, the manager of the Indians, hitting coach Ryan Long, and outfielder Jason Martin. See you next week on Inside the Indians.